Welcome, folks, to a brand new show on KFRED Radio, the KFRED News and Report. Today, we've got a very special guest. Uh, Mayor Kassie D of Grover Beach was elected in last year's election. Um, by some reports, she's the youngest mayor in Grover Beach's history. And as a millennial, she bucks the trend with the gerontocracy we normally see in government. As of 2017, Bloomberg found that less than 6% of mayors were millennials. So welcome, Kassie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and speak with you.
Oh, I'm really pumped. I've been looking forward to this. I've been telling people about this for months.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
Next time we have you on, we'll do it live so people can call in and dial, but we'll start out this way. So, my first question is you are a second generation business owner in Grover Beach, Nan's pre-owned books, and I got to ask you, you're successful there. You are well known in Grover Beach, well known in the county, well known in the chamber. What brain hemorrhage did you have when you woke up one day and said, I'm going to be run for mayor? I want to have all that pain and hassle of guiding a city in the future. What was your brain thoughts there? Somebody hit you over the head, or
Actually, it's so funny. The reason why I wanted to run, like you mentioned, my whole family has been really prominent in this community. I'm actually the fourth generation of small business owners, and fourth generation of here on the Central Coast as well. So, my great grandparents moved here to the Central Coast in the 70s, I believe it was. And nope, before that. It was even before that. They moved here and started businesses. And then my grandmother and her brother are also business owners. They started businesses, the bookstore. My uncle had actually it's what the building is right now where my bookstore is now. That was the Corner Tree Market, which was a deli liquor store kind of situation,
ooh,
convenience store, very fun. And then my mother was on that path to also become a business owner. So I'm the fourth generation. But in addition to that, my whole family has been in local politics for a very long time as well. My grandmother ran for city council in Arroyo Grande. She's an Arroyo Grande resident. So she ran for city council in 2002. Unfortunately, she lost by 70 votes. Her brother, Dave Ekbaum, was on the Parks and Rec Commission, Planning Commission, was on City Council, and the mayor of Grover Beach back in the early 2000s as well. And then my mother was on the Parks, Recreation, and Beautification Commission in kind of the 2010s type of time. So it was just something that I grew up with. I grew up going to all of these city events, going to city council meetings, going to Parks and Rec Commission meetings. So it was just something I knew about. It was already in my brain. There was no hemorrhage.
wow, sounds like you got a lot of sleeping opportunities as a kid. I've been to some of those meetings, and wow, there are times when I want to stab myself in the eye with an ice pick to get out of there. All right.
The truth of the matter is we have a lot of really passionate people out there. We're all passionate about different things, whether that be housing, roads, circulation, businesses. We're all passionate about something, and that's why I love local government. It's very interesting to me because everybody has a space to speak their mind about what they're passionate about. So it's actually fun for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure I really want to go partying with you.
Yeah.
Oh. Um, Given that I can normally cause an argument wherever I go, and a bunch of people with loving local government, yeah, I'm not sure I'd meet that. All right. So you felt, I'm going to say, because of your upbringing and your family history, you were kind of compelled to go into local politics.
Yes, it's just I grew up with this, so it's exactly what I knew. We volunteered at the parks events, whether it was the Halloween party that happened at Ramona Garden Park, the volunteer dinner, the Dune Run Run. Oh, the Dune Run Run. I remember being out there at 6 a.m. with my mom, my grandma, and my uncle. Um, 6 a.m. Ramona Garden Park, right before Stone Soup would start. I remember being out there with them, just helping get people set up and get registered and all that kind of stuff.
Wow. All right. So you woke up one day, said, you know what, it's time for me to go into the other family business. All
Mhm.
right. When you were running, what is in your head? What was that I'm going to win and I want to accomplish in my, we'll say first term, because second term's never a given, but what is it you decided you wanted to change or make better, that things that were specifically Kassie?
Well, for me, going into it, I keep talking about community engagement, and that is what, my upbringing and everything. So community engagement was a really big thing for me. You mentioned that I'm really involved with the chamber. I love networking. I love connecting. I love just making those connections between individuals, residents, business owners to make our community, the quality of life in our community, just absolutely incredible. So that was something that I saw in our local government, is to be transparent, accessible, and there, just present. So that's where I wanted to see us moving forward. I definitely I say that I'm toxic. I have a toxic positivity to me. So everything is so going throughout this, I ran against two other individuals and they ran great campaigns as well. I really wanted to thank them as well for running nice, clean, good campaigns. Um, but the whole time, you have to just believe that you're going to get to that finish line. You have to believe that you're going to get it. So that whole time, I would tell myself like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to work hard. I felt like I had to prove myself a little bit more because of my age and because I haven't sat on a council before. I went straight for the mayor's seat. So I felt
Straight
like
for
I
the
had to
jugular.
yeah, so I felt like I had to prove myself a little bit more, even though I have been really involved with being on specific boards and commissions. Um, so yeah, it was just you had to believe that you were going to get it. And so that's what I ran off of community engagement, public safety, and economic development because being a business owner, I know that our businesses are the foundation to what brings us into our community and the development and how we can fix our roads and how tight-knit we are. So that's kind of what I ran on.
Okay, so you hit two or three of the topics I do want to talk about, but before that, um, I don't often get a chance to talk with people that dissect political campaigns, at least not from the winner's point of view. I have in my time last 9 years on the Central Coast, I have actually worked with a couple of campaigns that lost whatever races they were running. So I've seen the dissection from the back end of theirs. But from a winner's point of view, what was the most surprising positive thing you encountered in the campaign and the most surprising negative thing you encountered in the campaign?
This is actually really amazing. You kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. The most surprising positive thing that I ran into was when I was campaigning and canvassing, knocking on all these doors in our community. I had a great team behind me. My campaign manager, Kay, was absolutely amazing. She was there every step of the way. But then we also had other volunteers and individuals to help. But one of the most surprising positive things was knocking on doors. And for example, there was one, she had her screen door open, her door was open, screen door was closed, and I knock on and I say, Mrs. Smith. I can't remember her name, or I won't say it on here, but I said Mrs. Smith.
Anyway,
Yeah. I was like, Mrs. Smith, hi, it's Kassie. I'm running for mayor. I just wanted to say hi and introduce myself. Because she said, who is it? And I said, oh, hi, Mrs. Smith. It's me. I'm running for mayor. I just wanted to introduce myself and see if there's anything that you wanted to talk about. And she was washing dishes. I could hear her washing dishes. She walked kind of in the vicinity. She saw me and she goes, oh, you're the young one. I'm voting for you. We need more young people in local government. You're going to be the first domino to fall. You're going to get so many people encouraged to run. We need young people in office. Have a great day. Bye. I'm voting for you. And I went, wow. And I can't tell you how many times that happened where I knocked on a door, I explained my story, or I even they just open the door and they go, oh, you're the young one. You're the young one. We need more young people in local government. So that was definitely the best positive thing that came out of this campaign. As far as the negative, I don't like speaking on the negative, but I would say, I don't know, there were a lot of um people who I think made assumptions about me because of my age or because of my pink hair or because of my long nails. And
You have pink hair?
yeah, it's you can't see it because of my pink jacket here, but I have pink hair. And it was more pink during the campaign as well. Um, but that was something that there were assumptions made. And so again, having to prove myself and say, look at all these boards that I've been on, look at all the community. I'm a lifelong resident of Grover Beach. This is how involved in the community I am. Um, that was probably I guess the more negative thing was a lot of assumptions made, which I was glad to come out and say, actually, this is how I view this, or this is my standpoint on this. So that part was really good.
Wow. People making assumptions about politicians. Go
I
figure.
know. I never would have thought that.
We won't go into my assumptions about politicians. All
We'll
right.
stay local.
Yeah, local is much better. When it goes above that, then yeah, we won't go there. All right. So, uh, uh, for anyone who's listening, KFRED Radio is based in Grover Beach, which is one of the reasons why we're talking. Kassie is her business. Literally, I can walk down the street and stick my head in and say hello. So, uh, we've been in Beach. I think this is our fourth or fifth year, and my only gripe about our office is that I don't have the ocean view where I could turn my head and see whales going past. Now I just see people going in and out of the AutoZone. Kind of a different thing. But other than that, we love Grover Beach. It's a growing up little city. So when we look at when I was doing my research and I did some research into the top 5 issues that Grover confronts. So I'm gonna uh, go through we'll through them one by one because some of them you've already touched. But the number one that I came up with is homelessness. And I know in my time uh, dealing with Grover Beach over the last, let's say, 8 or 9 years, I know a lot of the businesses along Grand Avenue have had an issue with homeless folks for quite a while. So, um, homelessness is not just a local issue; it's a local, state, federal issue. But with what you have, the resources that you have in your hands, what's your plan to tackle that problem? Really heavy question, I know.
I know it is a heavy question, and I just want to refer back to our partnerships that we have with Five Cities Homeless Coalition,
Hmm.
with Transitions Mental Health. We do have some resources here on the Central Coast that are really helpful, and I will say, I don't know if you have experienced this as well, but when before we had, so let me go back. Five Cities Homeless Coalition opened up a the Cabins for a Change, which is a 90-day program, although it's hard to get housing right now. So these individuals, unhoused individuals, they are at this, we call it, or they call it a campus. Um, I have to get used to not saying we. I was on the Five Cities Homeless Coalition board just a little bit ago
Go
before I
figure.
became mayor. So um, I know these programs really well, right? So they have this temporary housing where unhoused individuals can be there. They get into programs. Um, and then they can move on to housing from there, to permanent housing from there. And this, I don't know about you, but for me, as soon as Cabins for a Change opened, we saw a huge decline in individuals coming into our business. And we saw that a lot during the rainy seasons and during the winter season because the sun goes down sooner. So we would have a lot of unhoused individuals coming in trying to find warmth. You know, sometimes they would make a ruckus and we would just politely ask them to move on to the next place, kind of thing. But I have not seen that. In fact, when we were training new staff, that was always something like, this is what happens when an unhoused individual comes in. If there's any problems, you can call this person, you can do this. You know, we had this protocol. And we've done that, but we haven't really had to have any of those quote unquote calls for service from my business. So as far as homelessness goes, I think that it's really important to continue to support organizations like Five Cities Homeless Coalition. I mean, this is like you said, it's not a local thing, it's not a county thing, it's not a state thing, it's a national thing that what's the perfect answer?
There is
There
no.
isn't one. Yeah. So there isn't one. So as far as my intentions go, I would love to see our city continuing to support these programs, which that could be coming from Five Cities Homeless Coalition, that could be coming from Transitions Mental Health. Um, the Five Cities Homeless Coalition did open up another one of those campuses. It's called Blako on Barca, and another example of a program that unhoused individuals can go to, get help, get stability, and then move on to some more permanent housing. And it's been a very successful program as far as calls for services around, because I know that there are businesses and there are residents around that area. Uh, I I'll need to ask the executive director, but the last time I heard there was not even for calls of service regarding the campus, there was I think 2 calls for service in a whole 1, 2 years. And so it's pretty amazing stuff. I know that it's can be scary to have a campus next to you, but when they're getting the help that they need, it doesn't become so scary. So,
So I remember several years back, we were in the Shell Beach area office at that point in time, and I was at a governmental affairs committee meeting for the South County Chamber, and the executive director of Five Cities Homeless um, was the speaker, and she blew me away with a stat, and I'm gonna misquote it, but it was something like 90+% of all the homeless in the area at that point in time were literally from the area and
mhm.
got displaced out of housing. And what I found amazing with that about that was when I would talk to local residents about this topic, about homelessness, I would always get, well, people come here because of the warm weather. Now, growing up in Chicago, I know what winter's like, but I also know that no homeless person that's living in Chicago is going to say, I'm going to walk 3,000 miles so I don't have to put up with snow.
Mhm.
And I've always, to me, I always thought the local folks in the area who thought that it was coming from out of the state were kind of myopic and contributing to part of the problem. So I won't make you comment on that. That's a bad thing. Make a mayor comment on their constituents. I do want to flip though into the other housing issue is housing affordability. We know in California the uh, starter home is almost impossible to afford for a family. And if you've been around Grover Beach, you know there's housing going up in multiple places, at least 4 or 5 that I count. Um, how many are going up?
So the bigger projects that you're speaking on are Palladium and Encore, which is down on 4th Street, and then across the street from my bookstore and from us is the Cleaver Commons. So there's 3.
There's
Um,
the
and then
frontage road.
the condos on the train tracks. That's right. There's 4 that have currently big projects, really big projects that have currently been approved. And what I want to say on that housing bit, the one that's across the street that's on 13th Street, Cleaver Commons, that is people's self-help housing. So that is low income housing apartments. Um, for the condos, the Encore, Palladium, and I don't know if there's a name for the one that's next to the train tracks yet. But those are market rate condos. So my take on all of that is there's a lot of there is quite a bit of controversy around it. However, I don't want 4 or 5 story buildings behind my house. I'm a renter, so I'm one of those people who right now millennial renter. I'm not looking at buying a house right now. Needless to say, so these condos give a different variety and a different opportunity for some individuals. Maybe individuals who are living in a multifamily type of home or a big family. It's a single person living in a four-person home. There's a different opportunity. Not saying that I want anybody to move, but it's just an option for
Mhm.
people to find a different type of housing so that the families could come into it frees up the housing market. But more importantly, I really want to touch on builder's remedy. So the state has, yeah, the state has these housing requirements that we have to hit. It's called RENA, Regional Housing. Um, no. There's acronyms everywhere, and
Yeah.
but you know how when you have a kid, they're like, "Oh, why isn't there a handbook?" That's the same thing with all of our acronyms. When you become mayor, you come on council, where's the handbook with all the acronyms? But we have these that it happens every few years that the arena numbers change to allow for your population to get housing. We have to hit these numbers. If you do not hit these numbers, we get fined and we run into something called builder's remedy, which means that we have no control over what gets built. So my take on it is get ahead of the game so that we don't hit that builder's remedy area, because if we don't have that control, it's all about our control over our city. If we don't have that, then they will be building condos. Well, probably not because the zoning codes and all that, but they can come in and build housing right next to our parks or right next to our like big housing, right next to our parks, right next to our back to back, that we'll be seeing into each other's kitchens. So
So you're not wanting to build like the world's largest tall skyscraper in Grover Beach in the future.
no. Our zoning code is only these tall buildings are only allowed on Grand Avenue, and they only hit I believe it's 55 feet, or it's the 5
56 would be
stories.
about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Palladium and Encore, they do hit that 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 height, but they are 4 stories of
Hmm.
things. So the commercial underneath and then the condos above that. Um, but you're right. It is we don't need to we're on a sand dune. It's not practical to have the biggest structure in SLO County in Grover Beach.
I
But
know. It's
and it
kind of
and in
interesting.
right, I know it would be a sight to see, but in addition to that, we are landlocked. We have cities all around us. Unless we can build on the ocean, which that's not going to happen, we have to build up in order to hit those numbers.
Okay. All right. So you touched on a couple of things. So as the building has been going on Grand Avenue, and I seem to remember being at uh the town council meeting when they passed the increase in height. So um uh the four-story structures could be built, and they were touting that, and then my head was, yeah, I wonder how long that was. So that's probably been about 5, 6 years, something like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But as anyone who's tried to go from 13th Street along Grand Avenue to 4th Street knows, it's a pain in the butt
Yes.
with, with our temporary issues. But how has the building and road closures and redirections affected local businesses in the
Mhm.
area?
It has definitely affected local businesses. I will not deny that at all. We've had closures to businesses, to the streets. We've had closures to like their parking lots. I will say there's always been walkable access. The sidewalks have always been free, have always been open. But when we're going through and basically doing our driver's test all over again on these on Grand Avenue, making sure you're not hitting cones, there's a lot of calculation to go through. Well, I want to go to the planted parlor. How do I get there? So there's a lot of detours, and it has affected businesses. Um, I know that weather has been a factor. It has been a dry winter, but weather has been a slight factor. More importantly, we have utility lines that are very, very old. So when we start doing the construction on them, and before I even get into that, I want to add that the it's unfortunate that everything's kind of happening at once, but hopefully when everything's done, it's all done, right? But Encore Palladium have nothing to do with what's happening in the middle of the street, which is the West Grand Avenue streetscape project. That was something that was uh, conceptualized many, many years ago, having our main street have the be walkable, bikeable, and have different additions to it, more accessible sidewalks, and then in addition to that, the palm trees in the middle, et cetera, et cetera. So that's been a plan for a very long time. FlowCog finally came in to help fund this because it is a really big project. SlowCog came in to help fund it, and that's when the project really started to break ground. When this project started, they thought, okay, it's going to be done in December, but they started to work underneath the pavement, and we had utility lines break. But they also saw an opportunity to help our flooding. It floods in Grover Beach every single time we have big rains. So they installed these storm drains. And I don't know if you remember seeing these big boxes. Again, we live on a sand dune. So when you try to dig, the sand falls into us.
Right.
And if you're working underneath underneath the pavement, underneath that road, the sand will just collapse on you. So they had to bring in these big boxes to protect them and also to just get through everything efficiently, not break the roads, things like that. So that took a huge chunk of time. Our past council decided, let's put these storm drains in. We're ready. Let's just do it once, and then we will have less flooding when it comes to the rains that we have, which I saw it last night. It's coming in the next few days. There are, by the way, if anybody needs it, sandbags. There's sand over at Mentone to fill your sandbags so you don't flood and drift away. So yeah, but that's mainly the biggest thing about West Grand Avenue. It will be beautiful, but it has affected businesses, and that's why I took it upon ourselves, the council, really wanted to help these businesses. And it is a little bit later in the game by the time that we're doing a business grant in partnership with the South County Chambers. The council allotted a certain amount of funds to open up this application process, and businesses can be awarded up to $2,000. We will have a stakeholder group, a committee to allocate these funds, or to do a scoring sheet to allocate these funds. It'll be consistent of a council member, a staff member, a community member, a South County Chamber employee, and I think there was another person, maybe it was another community member, but just trying to get some money, some payback to the businesses that have been affected. And I know it's not a lot, it's a drop in the bucket, but I think anything is better than nothing, and late is better than nothing. So having to pick up those pieces.
I would rather government give me $2,000 than take $2,000 away, which is normally the way it does go.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm hearing is we did a whole bunch of stuff all at once, and hopefully once it's all done, we got a better, more residential housing, more business or commercial state, and a much more walkable street. I actually find Grand Avenue unique in all of SLO County because it's the only place you can go from 101 to the ocean without getting off the street. And I think that's phenomenal.
I agree. And our bike lanes that we've already started, they did that a long time ago. Now that they're redoing 4th through 8th, it's great. I just invested in a bike, and so I'm riding my bike a lot more. And I went from Grover to Arroyo Grande, and nothing on Arroyo Grande, but there's a couple spots where there's no bike lanes. And I went, oh my gosh, now I become a car. What do I do? So it's nice to have the accessible bike lanes. So I'm sure that I'm safe because Grand Avenue, it's our main corridor. People drive fast on that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. So we talked a bit about the businesses, and actually you with the program, when and where can businesses start to apply for it?
It'll go live this week. We just got an update last night from our city manager, and he said that it'll be live this week. I will make sure to blast it on all of my social media places, but it'll also be on the South County Chamber's website. We will have a link to it on the Grover Beach website. There will be press releases. I'm sure the Tribune has already started to do a story on just speaking on it, but I'm sure they'll put it out there as well. So we'll make sure. Oh, but most importantly, I'm so sorry. Most importantly, we have chamber staff and I believe city staff. That might be incorrect. I know for a fact that chamber staff will be going door to door to the businesses that are qualified to receive this grant and letting them know that there's an application available to them. That
Uh,
was something really big that the council really wanted to implement, was that we're making sure that we're going essentially door to door. Our partners at the chamber are going door to door and making sure that they know that there's a grant process that is opening. That process for application will be open, I think, for a month. I think it'll be for a month, and then funds, they go through the process, they go through the qualifications, and then funds will be received in probably April.
that we'll make sure that once the link's published, we'll add it to the show post about this show so people um hear about it. You heard it here first, folks. All right. So you already kind of touched on the next topic I wanted to hit, which was economic development. Um, the grant sounds great, but to me that sounds more like it's a catch up from before. Okay. So in your time in office, what future plans for economic development of the area are you contemplating implementing?
Yeah, so I think that we have great opportunities with our chamber. That's their job as a chamber, is to connect to the businesses. So continuing to partner with them in their efforts is definitely on my mind. But also, again, it's all about this building where we've taken these empty lots, and again, past council, but we've taken these empty lots and created a commercial and condo space above it. So that commercial space, hopefully we have some great businesses going in there, some small businesses creating. My whole thing, of course, is I might be a little bit biased, but small businesses coming in and and thriving in Grover Beach. And I see that opportunity with the new commercial spaces that we're seeing. I know that it's all about communication and uplifting one another. So we have some really amazing new businesses here on the Central Coast, like the Caffeinated Cat Cafe. They're doing a lot of workshops, a lot of community things. We also have, Lumpia Brothers, which is a new, very diverse type of food here on the Central Coast in Grover Beach. And then the Planta Parlor, they had a harpist at their place the other night. So again, having just lifting one another up about these and promoting businesses that are doing things to provide to the community. And that looks different for every single business. I know that you are a business and you provide a space for your local government to come and speak, or music or podcasts or whatever that might be. So just again, really promoting one another is a huge thing for me. And I spoke earlier about the networking and connections and just making sure that we're supporting local, we're shopping local, we're supporting local, we're listening local, whatever that might look like. That's a huge thing for me. So
All right. So, um, there's another topic in the top five, and it's a topic that every mayor I've ever seen has been asked about, and that's crime.
mhm.
So I know that there's been uh, for a while, Grover Beach seemed to be the capital of cannabis dispensaries. Um, and I know uh, from one of my other clients that's involved in the legal profession, I know that fentanyl has been a horrible scourge all across California. All right. Um, what initiatives are you contemplating dealing with to reduce crime? You can't be on nextdoor.com without hearing somebody saying something happened. Any What's your plan, so to speak, for lowering crime to the point where everyone's preference would be its non-existence, but to make it better than it is? Not to say it's bad, but it is something that's on people's minds.
Absolutely. I think it's always a big thing. I mean, most of our budget is spent on our police because that is how we take care of crime. So I think that I'm very proud of our first responders, Five Cities Fire Authority, our Grover Beach Police Department. I'm extremely proud of them. I'm proud to say that the police department is now fully staffed, so we have enough people out there. In addition to that, we actually also have a new traffic enforcement officer that goes out, and that's his primary job is traffic enforcement. We also allowed the we looked more into streets that were below Farrell. So in Grover Beach, below Farrell between 13th and 4th Street or so, there wasn't a lot of code enforcement down there because those are generally private streets, but we found that we're able to actually go in there and do more code enforcement. So I know that that's going to help some individuals who have come to council and said their grievances about why is this truck it's been parked on my street forever. And now we're able to go in there and do more code enforcement, do the traffic enforcement. In response to cannabis, I think that Grover Beach does everything correct in regulating our cannabis industry. This was something that was done many years ago by Chief Peters and other city staff and other community or other leaders in our local government went up and down. I just never forget this was a story from Chief Peters. They went up and down California to different cities that had dispensaries and had a cannabis industry within their cities, and they saw how it was done really well and they saw how it was done really bad. And so I think that how we do it is a really safe and positive way for our community, that it's not affecting our community so much, but it's also bringing in $1.2 million in tax revenue to our city. So in regards to that, it's again, there's constant circulation. I've spoken with we have a cannabis detective who his sole job is to, well, not sole job, he does other
Him,
things as
I'll go party with.
yeah, so so he's there to make sure that everything is crisp, clear, clean, perfect. In addition to making sure that our patrol is cycling these areas frequently. So
Oh,
as far as crime goes, I also believe in, again, I'm going to speak about Five Cities Homeless Coalition again and supporting them in the resources that they give, because a lot of times crime happens when people are down on their luck and they're at their lowest point in their life. They're unhoused, they need food. That's where you see things happening. So relying on them to provide services to the unhoused community, to provide food, to provide those resources that basic human being needs. I think is really important as well, as far as limiting or getting down our crime. And I think it's funny, the executive director of Five Cities Homeless Coalition says this too, and you kind of said it a little bit. Of course, we would love to, she always says, of course, we would love to go out of business. We would love to go out of business. We would love to say that crime is no longer here, but reality is that it'll always be here. And what we can do as a city is try to manage it as best as we can. And that comes with support, that comes with training. I'm a huge proponent on training, and just having those resources available for our first responders.
all right. So I got one last question, but before I ask that last question, um, what any topic that we haven't hit that you'd like to put a message out on?
I kind of, can I do two? It's like one and the same.
That's
It's
fine.
it's all about community again. We are in a time where I saw this coming into this role. I am really wanting to support, and I spoke about it a little bit last night at our council meeting. I really want to support us getting back to this code of civility and coming together. We can disagree on things all day long. That's fine. But I'm a huge proponent on respect and coming together. We can have a conversation. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like our council members. You don't have to like our staff, but please respect the position, respect what we're trying to do. I also am, again, with the community. I am holding office hours every third Saturday of the month from 9 to 11 at Dulce Cafe. We will be changing. I'm going to change every quarter to kind of make sure I'm hitting every single spot in Grover Beach. But my number one goal is to connect with the community. And I think that's what we really need and how we can get back to that code of civility and to that respect. So I just wanted to touch on that, but also I'm very excited for our Ramona Garden Park. It is coming to fruition with we're going to start breaking ground here soon with the new playground. But I also wanted to talk about a community program with bricks. So the Grover Beach Community Foundation is selling bricks to help fund a gap that was needed. We received a community development block grant to continue or to fill the funding needs for the park for the second phase, but we had a little bit of a shortage of about $400,000. So the Grover Beach Community Foundation is helping the city by selling bricks through a company called Polar Engraving. And you can go to their website, groverbeachcf.org, and buy a brick. I've already bought one. I'm about to buy another one for my family. So it's just a really good community program that'll go right back into the park. It goes specifically into the park, and then you also get a commemorative brick at the park that you get to go when we go to our summer concerts and see these bricks. You get to point at your name, and I don't know. I'm really appreciative of the Grover Beach Community Foundation for doing this, and the city as well for bringing this idea forward to have a commemorative piece of our city.
So I will say that one of the concepts that the KFRED radio station is built on is facilitating communication, discussion, because you're not throwing bricks at somebody if you're talking to them. And when you talk with people and have a communicate discussion, you figure out that we're a lot more the same, and you don't need to use the brick as a blunt weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
That said, I was thinking, wow, blunt weapons being sold. All right. So last question, then we'll let you out of here. Something you said earlier about being mayor. So if I remember right, Grover Beach mayors are term limited to 2 terms, correct?
Correct. Yes, they're 2 years and 2 times, but so a total of 4 years, but I have to rerun in the middle.
Okay. All right. So in 4 years, maybe 6 years, I forget how they run, but is there a potential that we're going to hear Kassie for governor? And then after 2 terms of that, are we going to hear Kassie for president?
The sky's the limit. I am very happy to hear that I became mayor at 30. I think that's a pretty big accomplishment, and it set me up for a nice path. That just depends on my family and to see where my husband lies with all of this, because I think that I have some really incredible role models right now, including assembly members, Congress people. So I think that I'm set up really well here, and I don't know, I'm a millennial, I have ADHD, I want to keep moving forward and keep going. So, and doing this, I went into this thinking, well, like my grandma specifically, she was like, well, what if you don't even like it? And I'm like, that's the problem, is that I know I'm gonna like it. And we'll see what happens in the future. It's definitely in my mind, I will say, for
Ooh,
moving forward.
a definite political answer there.
I won't make many promises. It depends on what other people are doing and how the puzzle pieces go together. I'm here to collaborate. I'm not here to step on toes, or I'm not a normal politician, so
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be talking to you if you were, because again, then we go back into my opinions of politicians, and I grew up on the south side of Chicago, so
yep.
they're not good. All right, we want to thank our guest, Mayor Kassie D, the youngest sorry, I almost said governor,
Well,
youngest,
I mean, we'll see.
maybe the youngest governor of California in a few years, but right now, the youngest governor, say, I did it again, youngest mayor of Grover Beach at 30 in its history. Thanks, Kassie, and we want you to definitely come back. Next time you come back, we'll open up the KPHRED phone number, 17249KPHRED, but not today, next time around. Thanks, Mayor.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. Thank you.
Happy you have fun.